Hello everyone, it is Princess underscore Mini 4 and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am going to be explaining my experience doing the medical assisted program and revealing if I passed or failed my certification exams. If you guys are new here, please make sure you hit that notification bell and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a post. Okay you guys, so I wrote something on my Google Docs, so I'll be looking over here, but I'll try to look back and forth to not be rude. I had looked at 3 total different schools before I became a medical assistant student. Let me turn this fan off. I don't know if that's too loud. Okay. The first school didn't reply back for about 3 weeks, so I kept it moving. My shirt's on backwards. Please don't mind that. Like, look, it's on inside out. I mean, I'm in here cleaning up my room and stuff. The second school got back to me the same day, and I booked an informational appointment. Everything sounded good with the program. The only difference between this one and the one that I went to was the cost, the length, and what was included. CPR and the clinical externship, I don't know what the difference is, was not included in that length or the time that you were a student. The second school, I would have been a student for 9 months with only 1 week off, and the cost was $23,000. This also doesn't include the cost for CPR and how many more months I would have had to be in an internship. So we're looking at a full year before becoming a medical assistant, which I think nursing school is 4 years. So I could have just went all the way to nursing school if I did that, The school I chose, which was my third school, which is funny, was a 12-week hybrid course, which I'm used to since I went to college during COVID. And it was only about $5,000 in total, and that included everything because the internship was included in, which I said my clinicals, that was all included. CPR is not included, but they said they do it for free for people who are already students. So I think maybe like July of this year they'll have a CPR course, so then I'll just go back and it's free, but I'll update y'all if that happens. So when you look at it like that, it's a big difference. We got 9 months, $23,000, 12 weeks, $5,000. You know what I'm saying? So it was accelerated, kind of how like when you're in college, how summer courses are accelerated. So you're learning like 5-6 different topics in 1 week, but it cuts down the time. So yeah. I went in on Monday, February 17th to pay for the class, and on that Thursday, the 20th, was our orientation. Our official first day was February 23rd, and our work was released at midnight. This is mentioned for a reason. Keep watching. I stayed home for some reason that Sunday. I think I was sick, so I spent that day making a makeshift syllabus for the course. Then the next day, Monday the 24th, is when I filmed my first day of school vlog, and that's when I started my work for this program. The work was very interesting, but I do have to say the work was very tough. Very, very tough. But honestly, any work in the medical field is. It's a hybrid course, so we had to dedicate 20 hours per week doing schoolwork at home. Then on week 4, we started going in person, and we had to do 9 hours 3 days a week plus the 20 hours that we were already doing at home. So that's roughly 29 hours per week. In hindsight, it's not that bad, but it took me a little while to get used to that. Sorry, my throat is so dry. Ever since I've been dealing with this acid reflux, y'all, my throat is just so dry all the time. I've always been a big fan of my me time, and my me time was getting disturbed so bad. I like to be able to get up and have a little slow morning routine, then have my time to play the games I want, read my book, do my workout, watch my YouTube videos, film YouTube videos, watch or live stream Twitch videos. Now I know I need to relax because I'm gonna have to stop being so big on my hobbies, since the older you get, the harder it is to have time for hobbies. And I did learn that during those 12 weeks. I had to make some sacrifices. So I stopped live streaming on Twitch. I think like the beginning of April. I just completely stopped. No. Yeah, I think it was the beginning of April, because at first I had started moving it to just Saturday and Sunday. Then I just said, I'm just going to stop. So I had to stop live streaming on Twitch at all. I stopped playing video games. I literally did. I didn't touch any video games for at least 2-3 months during this whole time program, because I didn't have time, you know. I learned to move things around in my schedule, which was tough due to my OCD, but I didn't let it win. On Wednesdays, when I started attending Bible study, because that was another thing I had an issue with. I really wanted to go to Bible study, but I had to get 5 hours of work in, and I did not have time for that. I would do my work and then take a quick break and work out. Then I'd go back to my work, and then I'd take another break and I would read. And then I was able to go to Bible study, which I cheated a little bit. Not cheated because it's really on me, but I kept the time running when I was driving to Bible study. And when I got there, I would click it off so I could have 5 hours. You know, whatever, I don't care. I mean, I did, you know. That's just how I had to do it, because there was no way for me to have time to do everything. It was just impossible. You know, I don't know how people do this stuff and have children. God bless you. But I did all of that in that way so I would have time to attend Bible study and not have to worry about nothing else. Then I could come home at like 8:30 and then I could just rest. Because think about it, if I came home at 8:30 and I still had to work out for 30 minutes, read, which took about 30 to 45 minutes, it's time for me to go to bed. I had to go to bed early because I was tired and because I had to get up at 6 a.m. for clinicals. I had to figure it out, you know, but I did it. In the process of getting used to this class, I went through a little ugly phase. I was a little down in the dumps due to having to dedicate so much time to this program. So I would go into my room in here and I would dedicate my 5 hours to schoolwork. Then I'd come back into the living room and it would usually be time for either dinner or time to work out. Then I would sit on the couch for the rest of the evening and just kind of be antisocial. Like, I used to be so mad when my uncle would call me or my grandma would want to talk. I'm like, look, I'm tired. I'm mentally drained. I don't have the energy to even talk, you know. I would put my headphones in and I would watch TV. No, I wouldn't. I don't watch TV. I would watch my YouTube videos and I would scroll on social media. And I would be so behind on my YouTube videos. I have like 10 videos to watch. And that's pretty much it. We were working on the food puzzles, but I just never had the brain capacity to actually do it. It's so weird to see how school can actually take a toll on you. Like, I was so mentally and physically exhausted. I sometimes didn't work out because I would either have a stress headache or I was just really, really tired. I started going to bed at 11 p.m. since I would have to wake up at 6 a.m. and I still constantly felt tired every single morning. I would legit find myself falling asleep during my work, and that's just not like me. Like, I would sit here and put my head down and take a 30-minute nap in the middle of my work. I'm not a nap person, but I was just so drained. But honestly, it was a lot of work. If it wasn't for the time limit, I could technically get it done in about 2 days, but the amount of work was still a lot. We would typically have between 4 to 6 chapters a week to cover, and I would always take notes and make flashcards. Then we would always have a smart book assignment, which always took between an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete for each one. And that's typically what I would do on Mondays and Tuesdays. Now on Wednesday, we would have assignments based off of those chapters, but this assignment is different from the smart book assignment, and they could take between 30 minutes to an hour on each one. I would typically complete all the ones that I had to do for the week on Wednesday. Then we also had EHR clinic activities for each chapter as well. And this is pretty much the electronic health records. It is teaching us how to log different things on the electronic health records. So for example, if Bobby got a flu shot, it was teaching us how to log his flu shot in the chart. This would take between an hour to 2 hours to complete all of them. They weren't too hard, but they were just kind of frustrating to get down at the beginning. That's typically all I would do on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, I would take any quizzes that we had. Some weeks we had none, and some weeks we had up to 5 quizzes. So probably on Tuesday, I made flashcards for those quizzes. Then I would study them before the quiz, and then I would take the quiz. The quizzes were all terms except for the heart diagram one. But for all the ones that were terms, it was pretty much just memorizing them. I got 100 on pretty much all of them. But let me tell you about that heart diagram one. For some reason, they refused to give us a study guide for it. I asked them like 4 different times which specific heart diagram is going to be on the quiz so I could study from it. And they just kept giving me the runaround. And then they basically said at the end, it's just one of the ones in the chapter. So I think chapter something, I don't remember, was called the heart. And it had like 4 or 5 different diagrams, and they were all different, but they were of the heart, but they were all different. So how are you going to tell me it's just one of them? I was like, okay. So then the quiz was called a heart diagram quiz, but it also had pictures of nasal structures and chest structures, and we weren't even told that. So long story short, I completely bombed it. I got a whopping 41. But at the end of the day, if you set me up to fail, I'm going to fail. You know, I didn't even know those other 2 things were on there. It was like 3 different pages, a blank diagram, and you had to fill it out. I didn't even know anything about the nasal diagram or anything on there, but I did it. I got a 41, so I got something right. I'm not saying that's what they did, but for every other single quiz, we had a study guide for it, except for that one. So how am I supposed to do well? But anyway, after I would finish my quizzes, I would take the time to work on any virtual labs that we had. I really did enjoy the virtual labs, and they were probably my favorite thing that we did, especially since it's a hybrid course and everything that we learned we couldn't physically do in class. So I feel like I learned the best by video or virtual things, so I really did enjoy those. Sometimes we would have to do between 4 through 8 of them, and they would never take that long. But we also had these other things. They were kind of like virtual labs, but we would have to watch a video and answer questions throughout that video, pretty much testing to see how much we really pay attention. Those ones were kind of a hit or miss, but I did okay for the most part. Then we would also have these thing where we would create a little avatar, and it would walk us through a day in the life of a medical assistant. And we had to pretty much answer scenarios and take vitals, all that stuff that you would do as a medical assistant. Those were my favorite as well. Now after the virtual labs, it would be time for me to take our weekly exams. So if we had 6 chapters for the week, it would be 3 exams, but 2 chapters for each exam. The exams were always between 50 and 100 questions. I always did okay on them. I found it hard to study for them. Quizlet is nice because you can combine 2 to 3 to even 4 different sets together. But after taking notes for 2 chapters, that would be over 100 different cards to study for. I always got between like a 70 and a 79 on the exams. But I was never told I wasn't doing well, and I was never told I needed to get better grades, so I just kept doing my best, and that would pretty much be the end of my week. And there is a video up on my channel called Do Homework With Me, so if you guys want to see what it's actually like to do homework, there's pretty much just that, then you would just go and watch that video. I was able to get, by the end of the week, I started doing 5 hours per day. So my week was ended on Thursday. So I had Friday, Saturday, and Sundays off, which was really nice. And honestly, after the week, hitting log off was sometimes really rewarding. But here's where everything took a turn. If you watched any of my medical assisting videos, you know that we used McGraw-Hill. And McGraw-Hill had its list of problems. I remember using this in college, and it was the same thing then. We were told our work was going to be due every Saturday at 11:59 p.m. and the following week's work will be released at 12:01 a.m. on Sunday. Now, we were lucky to have work sometimes at Monday at 12 p.m. Now, when this first started happening, I'm not going to lie, I was really frustrated. I'm a big person, which is like, if you say something, then do that. Like, don't say you're going to do something and then not do it. So don't tell me the work is going to be released on Sundays, but I'm not getting all the work out by Monday or even Tuesday sometimes. Maybe I'm strange, but that's so frustrating to me. Every Monday, I would make a list for the week and write out all the work I'm going to do on certain days. So getting up on Monday and not having any work for the week being open is annoying. But I can say that the main instructor, the one who runs the business, is very sweet and very helpful. I would just send a message right over and she would be like, that's not right. And she'd get it fixed. And it happened like this probably, if it was a 12-week program, probably for like 8 of those weeks. And a lot of the issues, like certain tests not showing up, certain quizzes not showing up, work not even being released on Tuesday, and quizzes weren't being graded correctly. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was getting so angry. I'm like, I paid all this money for this class and I got to teach myself because it's hybrid and the work is not even being graded right. Now, I was never rude to them. I would just rant and rave in my room and keep it moving because that's what I do. But the entire time, I'm getting mad at the wrong person. The whole time it was McGraw-Hill. And I'm getting mad at McGraw-Hill and they're getting mad at McGraw-Hill as well. Apparently stuff was supposed to open up on its own when they had said it to, and it wasn't. Tests and quizzes were supposed to be graded in a certain way and they weren't being graded the right way. It would give us like 293 steps on our EHR clinic activities when we were supposed to only have like 15. So it was nothing that they could really do, honestly. And a lot of works, we ended up not having to do a lot of work because of McGraw-Hill. It was easier for them to just remove it than try to call them and sit on customer service for a long time. And I low-key feel bad now for any time I badmouth this program, especially since it wasn't even their fault. Except for that heart quiz though. That I will say is a little bit different. We had a male instructor and he showed up for the first 4 weeks. And after our first in-person week, he stopped showing up. He went out sick with the flu and stayed home an entire week, which is normal because I had the flu before and I stayed out the entire week too because you're that sick. I do have to say I found it really strange that nobody else, including the 2 other instructors and us 3 girls, weren't even sick at all. We were working in such close proximity with him, taking his blood, taking his vitals and everything. I just found it strange that none of us got sick. The flu is very contagious, you know. And then boom, he stopped reaching out and they stopped being able to get a hold of him. So literally in the middle of a course, they were missing a whole instructor. So it left the program in a little bit of a mess, but it didn't take long for things to get back on track. I just always find it so strange how it's always my luck to have an instructor quit while I'm in the middle of a course. If you've been watching my channel for a few years now, that happened to me back when I was in the community college and while I was at university. So at this point, it really shouldn't bother me. Now, there was one incident where an exam was added on Thursday at 8:20 p.m. Now, I'm usually logged off on Thursdays by 6:30 p.m. because by that time I have gotten my 20 or more hours for the week. So I'm done. Once I'm done, I'm done. But let me tell you about my God, y'all. Let me tell you about God. For some reason, something kept telling me to log on McGraw-Hill. It didn't just happen not just one time, not just 2 times, but 3 whole different times. Something just kept bugging me, kept pushing me to come into my room and log on my computer and go on McGraw-Hill. So at the 3rd time, I was like, okay, I'll do it, you know? And lo and behold, there was that exam. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if that was a mistake on the instructor's part or was that a mistake on McGraw-Hill. But let me tell you about little old me. Boy, I was furious. I was crying and crying. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I was at the very low part of my life. I was at a very low part of my life. I just felt the urge to just give up and forget about this class entirely. Like, because I was already kind of going through the phase where I was like getting mad at this class because I was like, I don't got time to do this. I don't got time to do that. All I have time to do is do this work. So, and then this happened, y'all. I really was fed up. I was about to quit. I was about to just stop doing the work. I was about to stop showing up to class. I was just like, I don't care if I get certified. I'm never going to take no tests, no exams. I'm done. I'm not paying for them. I'm done. You know, like this is where I was at. I had to sit in this room at 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday and take an exam before it was due at 11:59 p.m. But guess what? I did it. I don't know what I got on it. We didn't really get a lot of our exam scores back. So I don't know what I got on it. But I did it. I didn't have time to study. I just did it. And you know why I did it? Because it had to be done. But let me tell you about my God again. Just when I thought I couldn't go on any further, I thought for sure I hit rock bottom. Like I said, I was about to be done. I was completely done with this program. I was about to just give up. But the weirdest thing happened to me after that incident. It's like the course turned around to a completely different course. I found myself being happy to do my schoolwork. I found myself being more interested in the work than I was before. If y'all remember on my first video when I had my first clinical classes, one of the first things I said after my intro was like, I don't even know if I even like this class. I don't even know if I want to be a medical assistant. But after that incident, I could see myself being a medical assistant. Like it was always on my mind of something I wanted to do. If y'all remember before, I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to work. But I saw myself wanting to work. I mean, you don't got to be religious to know that that just doesn't happen out of nowhere, especially after something like that. But it's the truth. I mean, that is nothing but the Lord. But once it got to the end, I found myself being sad that it was almost over. The last few weeks were tough because we were trying to get our sticks in so we could sit for the phlebotomy exam. But by the grace of God, on that last day, I got all my sticks in. And me and the other two girls were pretty friendly in class, but nothing else came from it. From what I understand, they are both moving out of state. I think they too exchanged numbers with each other, but as usual, I'm always left out, but it's okay. They have more in common with each other, like they both do nails and they both do eyelashes, and they both are recent high school graduates. Like they both graduated last year. I'm like 5 years older than them. But the instructor who runs the business, she has these two dogs that love me wholeheartedly. Well, most likely the girl dog. Her name is Phoebe. And she's a rescue dog, and she came from a very bad background. When I first started the program, she was friendly. She would come up to me and I would pet her, and then the other dog would come up to me and I would pet him. His name is Jackson. But I'm telling you, during the middle of the program, Miss Phoebe started feeling better. She was sick in the beginning, but after going to the vet or whatever happened to her, she started feeling better. All of a sudden, she developed this crazy personality. She's very spunky and sassy. She loves to play fetch, and boy, does she love to bully her brother. But the weirdest thing is how much she had fallen in love with me. I would walk up the stairs at the end of class and she would just start crying and crying because she just knew me by my footsteps. Like, I don't even know how dogs do that, but she knew my footsteps coming up the steps. I walk in the door and she starts crying because she sees me. Jackson doesn't really care either. Anyway, he doesn't really care. He enjoys the attention. He enjoys the pets, but he's not gonna go crazy over you. He's just a laid back dude. But Phoebe is also still a puppy. Y'all know I love dogs, so I'm always going to talk about dogs. But honestly, having dogs in the class, I think, really helped with the nerves and just kept the environment a happy, playful pace. Dogs definitely make everything better. Now, I love both of my instructors. They are very helpful. I'm a walking question mark, so I'm always asking questions, and they always try to answer me and get back with me even outside of business hours. They are very helpful, and they'll help you get a job, and they'll help you with any interview questions or anything. And they say no matter how long you've been graduated from the course, they will still reach out to you and check on you and make sure you're doing well in life. And y'all, I have been graduated from college for a year now, and I've heard absolutely nothing back from any of my college professors. Just to compare that. A little bit different. Now, to say, do I recommend this course? If you were anything like me and spent the majority of your life not sure what you want to do with your life, I can say it won't hurt you. If you've always had an interest in the medical field, but you don't know if you want to become a nurse because that's a lot of money and a long time commitment, then I don't see why the medical assistant field won't be a good start for you. For the most part, they're at least 9 months. I was just lucky to find an accelerated program. I'm not going to speak on cost because there's different costs for literally every school in every state, in every city. But I definitely say it's cheaper than going to get your BSN, and especially paying all that money for a nursing degree if you don't even know if you truly want to be a nurse. So yes, I totally recommend this program to people that believe it's the right fit for them. Honestly though, do your research. I looked on YouTube and watched videos of a day in the life of a medical assistant and a day in the life of a medical assistant student. Like I said, I am a visual learner, and that's how I figured out that I would enjoy doing this job. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to film in school and give y'all a real day in the life of a medical assistant, but I always came home and explained to y'all what we did that day. At least I tried to. No, I'm not going to tell y'all where I went to school because that tells my location and what state I live in, and I don't like that. But trust me, every state and possibly every city probably has some sort of school that offers it. And if I had to say, do I recommend the course at the place I went to, I would still say yes. Yeah, there were a few problems and stuff, but in the real world, you'll always come across some sort of problem, or one of your favorite or one of your best working employees will quit, or your manager will quit or whatever. It's always going to be that, you know. It's just a part of life. So I'm not going to dog them, especially on something they couldn't even control. And I can definitely see myself keeping in contact with them and also stopping by here and there to see the dogs and just to see how things are going and offering up my veins if they need them. Now, don't walk into this thing thinking it's going to be a walk in the park and it's not going to be hard, because you are going to be wrong so quick and so fast. I complained about the course a few times, but you learn about a lot of things in this course, and that you can't even use once you get in the field. As a medical assistant, you cannot diagnose at all, but we learned about certain diagnoses, and we learned how to do certain surgeries and stuff that we literally can't do, but there are certain things that we can assist in. But the 12 weeks went by so fast, and it's now time for me to reveal to y'all if I passed my exams and became certified, or if I failed and didn't get certified. Let me get some water, y'all. So, for my phlebotomy exam, because I only took phlebotomy, medical assistant, and patient care technician. I was not taking that EHR exam, which is electronic health record, and I was not taking the EKG exam. Even despite my uncle and my grandma wanted me to take all 5 of them, I said, no, this is my life, baby, and I'm going to do what I want to do, you know. So I only took 3 out of the 5 exams they offered. So for my phlebotomy exam, I passed. I got a 416 out of 500. For my medical assistant exam, I passed. I got a 420 out of 500. And for my patient care technician exam, I passed again. I got a 429 out of 500. So now the next steps are get a job. They have already been calling people on my behalf to find me a job. I do have a few big things coming up in my life that will possibly delay me for a little bit when it comes to working, but I should be good to hopefully get a job by July. I was thinking about leaning towards working in a hospital. The shifts are pretty long, but everyone says the benefits are better. And I don't know if I want to go back to school for nursing, which if I do want to go back to school for nursing, it would be better to work in a hospital, because usually they'll pay for your tuition or just give you money off or something like that. Oh, excuse me. I did already have an interview, and if you guys want to know if I got the job or not, you guys are going to just have to subscribe and keep watching. But the next step is to start applying, interviewing, and hopefully securing a job as either a medical assistant or a patient care technician. I don't think I want to do just phlebotomy. I don't think I want to work at like LabCorp or Quest. I don't think I want to do that. That's just not something I think I want to do. I do like phlebotomy, but it's not something that I want to do all day long. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that is my experience doing the medical assistant program. That is my experience doing the medical assistant program, and me revealing if I passed, well, revealing the fact that I passed all 3 of my exams. And there will be a video coming out soon, just to help anybody who is a medical assistant or a medical assistant student and wants to know how I passed. I will definitely make a video on that, so make sure you're subscribed, have your post notification bell on so you can see just to see how I pass. Everybody doesn't study the same and everything doesn't work the same for everybody, but yeah, because I've always been a horrible test taker. I could do well on the homework, well on the assignments, but when it comes to the test, I'm going to completely bomb it. But I passed all 3 of these exams. So yeah, make sure you have your post notification bell on and you're subscribed so you can see how I passed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. It has been a long journey, but the journey is over now. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to know when I post, and share this video with your friends. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys, love you. And happy June, y'all. This year is almost halfway over.